Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. Where's he disappearing now? Hashem, you go afterwards. What you doing over there? Where's he disappearing? Yes, I'm going to go. Yom Revi Parshas Behaloscha. Yeshiva Tiferes Avigdor. Very interesting to me that a lot of times, if you look at Parshias, you see messages, contrasts, lessons lumped together. It's very interesting how in this week's Parsha, it starts off with the mitzvah of Behaloscha Haneris. And in the beginning of the Parsha, Rashi brings down Lama Nismacha Parashas Amenoira Leparshas Hanasim. Why was the Torah write the Parsha of the Menorah next to the Parsha of the Nasiim? Chazal answer Lefik Shekeshiro Aaron Chanukas Hanasiim, when Aaron, who was the Nasi of which Shevet? Shevet Levi, saw the Chanukas Hanasiim, and all the Nasiim were bringing their karbanos. Chol Sha'oz Daita, he felt bad. Why? Shelo Yehoya Imohem the Chanukah. He wasn't invited. He wasn't included in this nidava like them. Lo Yehu v'lo Shivtai. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, Chayecha shalacha g'dayla mishalahem. Yours is greater than theirs. Sha'ata madlik umeitiv es haneris. You have an avodah which is permanent, kavua, which is done by you every morning and every evening, and your mila is greater than theirs. It's only one shot. So the Ramban poses a question. The Ramban says, why was Aaron jealous of the Nesim that they brought those karbanos and not him? The whole Shivas Yemei HaMiluim, all the 7 days, Gabriel, of the Miluim, he brought numerous karbanos. And in those karbanos, the Nesiim did not have any chelik. So why in the world was Aaron jealous? Now, if the Torah is telling us that Aaron was jealous, the Torah is telling us, what is it trying to teach me about this Maisa of Kina, this act of jealousy that Aaron manifested? Elchanan, what do you think Torah is trying to tell me about this act of jealousy?
What I think is that jealousy by itself is not a good thing, but in the case where you're doing a mitzvah, this is a proper conduct, acceptable conduct.
Excellent. Excellent. Jealousy is a terrible midah. You know how bad of a midah it is, Shimon? How bad of a midah is it? What? How do you know? Because it says there are three things that are moitziin es ha'adam min ha'olam. Kina is one of them. Doesn't say on every bad midah is moitzi you from the world. Kina, it says, flush, zoop, down the drain. Moitzi you straight out of daily. Yet, the Torah is telling me, Aaron, jealousy, because every midah Torah has a time where it's supposed to be used, l'tova. So, the question over here, the Ramban asks, okay, this is an example of jealousy? This is not jealousy. This sounds like babyish. Can you imagine if somebody would give you, your mommy would give you 2 candies, and it would give your brother 1 candy, and you would start to cry and say, I want that candy. Your mother said, why? I said, I'm jealous. Your mother would say, grow up. You have 2, he has 1. What are you getting a little jealous about? Doesn't make sense. So Ramban says, the Siyam brought the karbonis at the Chanukas HaMishkan. When they were mechanech the Mishkan, for 7 days, Aaron was working busy like a bee, bringing lists of karbonis, so that the Siyam got a carbon. You're jealous? I mean, you don't want everything for yourself? What's the shot? So Reb Chatzkel Levenstein and others say that Aaron was aware that he had karbonis. But the karbonis that the Nesiim brought were unique, and he didn't have that one. Means if the pshat would be like the example we gave, you got 2 candies, brother got 1 candy. But let's say you got 2 candies, and your brother got a chocolate bar, a whole different souk. Then you'd be jealous. Aaron HaKohen here, the Torah is teaching me that jealousy for noch a shtickle mitzvah, for another piece, an extra piece, a little different. That jealousy is a very good jealousy. And it was difficult, it was chol shadaita. Now, human beings by nature are jealous. Is that correct, Shimon? Is that a chiddush to you? People are jealous, right? Somebody get a nice tie, you want the tie. Nice shoes, yeah, I want the shoes. You know what I mean? Get a fancy watch, fat watch, I want also a fat watch. That's what people are. You got a funny tie, I want a funny tie. People are jealous people. Now, the question is that why is a person jealous over silly things and not jealous over important things? When it comes to mitzvahs, no one's jealous usually if somebody learns a little more. It's nice to have kineh seifrim, it's very good. It's tar b'chachma, but a lot of people say, oh, that's his tipus, this is his type. I need lo tipus. I can't sit that good. It's not lo mishili. When it comes to the candy, you don't say, well, let him have the candy, he needs it, I don't want to burn my teeth, I don't want to mess my teeth up. You don't say that. See, people are driven by instant gratification. People want, when you take something in your mouth, what happens is to a person, he tastes that sweetness right away. If you get an extra piece of pizza, so it eats people up. It's amazing, you go to a chasana. I've been at chasanas, and I have had people serving as my agents. I didn't ask them to be my agents, but they came to tip me off that on that table there's different food being served. Remember I was at a chasana, and one guy told me, Ebi, maybe you should pass on this dish. The children's table, they're having very good schnitzel. Very good, I'm telling you. It's something unique. Forget this over here. What they're giving you over here is for adults, a piece of chicken. It's not cool. Go over there. You ever go to a chasana where they have an extensive smorgasbord? They got a shmorg. And you ever watch people make the hakafas? And you go backwards, you go forwards. You want to make sure that you don't want to miss one shtickle, not one thing. And sometimes you go to the men's, but the chasnas tish usually they give you something smaller. They give you like to be a missile tayameha. But the real thing is on the other side by the ladies. And the guys, you have a guy say, it's not fair. Why do we get the kugel? I want the good stuff. I want the carving stations. You see people get online. You could think people, and they give you a carving station. They never give you a lot. They give you a little plate, and the guy carves off for you a couple of crumbs of corned beef. The guy's wearing a funny hat. And you think, oh, this is going to be korban. Yesterday, one didn't korban. That's how it sees of a mensch. A mensch is sick because a mensch is driven by his desires, and for that, a person will go nuts. You have to think about it because if you don't think about it, you're not fully aware. I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting on a table in the chasana and I hear somebody say, "Hey, it's not fair." On the next table, they got something we don't have. You're hungry? But that's how people are. That kin everybody understands. This kind of, you have Baruch Hashem, you're full, you're not hungry. Like you have a piece. Aaron HaKohen, however, was not like that. Aaron HaKohen was somebody who was driven. You know why? Because he understood that for mitzvahs, you don't get indigestion. If you eat extra food, it messes up your stomach. You get heartburn. You can't go to the bathroom afterwards. Sometimes you put too much in. Your take comes out the wrong side, and you can't sleep at night. And you think, was it worth it? Was it not? You couldn't help yourself. That's what it was. When it comes to mitzvahs, you don't think, one more mitzvah, what's that going to mean for me? So immediately, in the immediate future, you don't see that. You don't have your taste buds don't react to that mitzvah in a special fashion. But you tell yourself, I just acquired one more piece of a mitzvah, which is mine forever and forever and forever and forever. Nitzchis. Someday, in a week, when you forget you ever did this mitzvah, the mitzvah is be yours. But you got that pepper steak that tasted like rubber, and it looks like they scraped it off of what church will call the caterer probably bought it on a bargain basement deal. I called it rubber plastic. And he threw some peppers in there, and now you want to know you have pepper steak. You feel that's something to die for. That's a zel umazeh. The Torah is telling us every mitzvah, it's an acquisition, it's a kinyan. One more line of Gemara, one more pasuk, one more kavanah for tefillah, one more makes a difference of night and day. Imagine somebody have two pizza pies and the guy gives him a third pie. The third pie is not most of it. You just give him a third pie, not a couple of slices. By a mitzvah, it's much more than that. It's megadol the ganze mensch. It changes the whole nitzchis of a mensch. The person thinks about that. You have the story in this parsha of Pesach Sheni. You have people who are Tmeim lenefesh adam, and they can't bring the Korban Pesach. And they come and they're mamish misabel. They mamish said, "What do you mean when I have shaykh to Korban Pesach?" Somebody told me, "You had one last year in Mitzrayim. You had one. It's not enough for you, and you're part of this time. Don't get so carried away over here." It was a kid jumping at the kiddush for the next piece of cake. What did the adults tell them? Sit back here, have enough on your plate. That's enough, it's enough. That's what happens. What does the person say? No. And here we have this group of people who say, we don't want to be left out of the Korban Pesach. Lomo nigora. It's Pashat Mavel all around. After I think about this. So they said, yeah, Oynes Rachmana Patre, but we're not going to have the Korban Pesach. We're not going to have the mitzvah of Achilas Pesach. So they come to Moshe, and they... Now, it's interesting that you find that people who are generally tzaddikim, and who've got a boatload of mitzvahs, and who have trainloads of mitzvahs, are always seeking more mitzvahs. And people who are empty of mitzvahs are very satisfied. What's the pshat? Pshat is the Gemara says, when it comes to matters of ruchnius, kli mole machzik, kli reik ein machzik. You have to know, in order to hold mitzvahs, you got to have a keli. That's what it is. Just like you want to hold water, you got to have a keli. No, somebody who's mole b'mitzvahs that's the keli to hold more mitzvahs. The less mitzvahs you have, the less keli you are to carry mitzvahs. It's like a little child. A little child has little hands, and you put a big box in his hand. He says, "I can't get it." Dropped on the floor. Yeah, do it. Same thing to me. What difference it make? It's too big. It's not used to carry things. Doesn't have the keli. An adult, you put on one box, so you tell it, put another box, because you can handle it. That's what a person has to know. And then you have, on the other side of this parsha, the contrast. The zelu umazeh. Always find it in the parshas. You have the people, when they left Har Sinai, it says, Vayisu mehar Hashem. And they ran away, ketinoik habireach mi beis hasefer. Why? Because they were afraid they're going to get more. They were afraid they're going to get more mitzvahs. Now, it's interesting, Altamas Labotka said, even though they were going to Eretz Yisroel, which was also a big mitzvah, but it didn't bother them. The Torah looked into their hearts, Hashem looked into their hearts, and Hashem sees that even though they were going to Mekayim, the Tzibur of Hashem of following the Anon and going to Eretz Yisroel, but they should have done it with some degree of tzar, some degree of sadness. You ever see how people run out of a simcha, a bris? They go to the Suda. So they're participating in the bris, and as soon as they ring the bell, ding-a-ling-a-ling, they make a mad dash for the Suda. That's what people do. It's amazing. You watch children, you watch adults, it's all the same thing. People running to... There's never a tsar. In halacha it's brought down that you don't... Ramah brings down, you don't say Birchas Koyanim. by Shachris, on Regolim. You don't say, why not? Because the person is hungry, and the person is thinking they're going to extend the davening, and I want to get my bite of food in my mouth. By Musaf, you can already smell, you can already taste it already. Okay, it's like pas pasali already. You have it right there, so that people can handle it. But a person has to know, and a person has to make this cheshbon with himself. Every extra mitzvah, and most of us are we know which group we belong in. Then you have the group in the next case in the parsha of the people that started to complain. They wanted beef. Mi achilenu basar. They wanted basar. They didn't like the menu. They didn't like the menu Hashem was giving them. This man, this lechem hakloikel. They started being mavazeh the man. That's how it is. You have the famous case when the Yidden were at the Kriyas Yamsuf, and it's time to move. It says that Moshe Bayasa Moshe as Bnei Yisroel Miyamsuf. Rashi says, what does it mean? He siyam ba'al karcham. They told Moshe not to bother them. They're busy with mitzvahs. They're collecting bizas hayam. They pushed it to the malaket tachshit zov. It was gold, silver, all the takshitim that the Egyptians brought out of there. They put on their horses and the people were wearing. Now they were mefuzzer, and Moshe Pashat was forced to Pashat, get him away from the Baal Karcham. Nachaminut, Moshe, Nachaminut. But Isaac b'mitzvahs. That's how it is. So on one hand, when you're sitting at the Yam Suf collecting the gold and the silver, then you have to pull them away. On the other hand, when it's time to leave Har Sinai, we're ready to go. Then a person's ready to go. This is a difference. And when you see a person who has control over himself, and you see a person who be'emes is a shaylit on himself, and he understands what's important in life and what's not important in life, and he understands what is the direction I'm supposed to go, I'm supposed to aim for. And a person has to constantly ask himself this question. See, even if a person does the wrong thing, but he should at least acknowledge that I acted in oifen shaloi lefi chvoidi. I acted in an oifen that's not mechubit. You have to acknowledge that. The whatchamacallit. I think about people like my Rebbe, who was chored al ha-mitzvahs. He was a true charedi. And what was his charada? He wanted to get mitzvahs as many he could lay his hands on. And he wanted to do the mitzvahs with the most dikduk that he could rely on. And he was zohir me'aveirus like fire. No coolest, no nothing. And just to watch in every area of his life. From the Tilas Yadayim, which looked to me like the Kohen Gadol was going to the mikvah on Yom Kippur every day when he didn't Tilas Yadayim. It was just mind-blowing. You saw he was a chored al ha-mitzvahs. He was concerned he wouldn't do it right. He was concerned that he should do it right. I can do it better. And there wasn't an area of his life that it wasn't manifest. my Zayda, you saw he was like a machine. He was driven. He was like the hungriest businessman around. He didn't do a thing. He didn't go anywhere. He never went there to Yisroel, never did vacation. You know why? He chap around learning. Not chabas learning. No, there was no such thing as he didn't learn for hours. He was zor b'mitzvahs. He was zor not to eat chodosh before everybody else did. For himself. Not for his family, but for himself. If he had to shave, trim his beard, part of the face where he was afraid to put a razor, I never used a shaver or a haircut machine. What he used, my mother told me, he'd go into the basement and he would put on this mishi, cream. This cream smells like rotten eggs and burns your face half the time, and that's how he did things. Because he, Nocha mitzvah, an extra mitzvah, him was extra gold. He saw waiting online as a tremendous opportunity. I remember him telling my brother said waiting in line for lunch in the Mir Yeshiva, where a few hundred people waiting in line, took a long time. So my brother asked him, what should he do? He said, what do you mean, it's a tremendous opportunity. What he told my brother? Go to the back of the line and start to learn the Masechta. To learn the Masechta. And report to me how much you learned in a Zman. In one Zman, brother learned 13 blot. That is 13 blot for waiting in line. Wow, I was jealous of that. That was, you're not a rush. Opportunity, 13 blot more of Torah. It's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Speaking to a fellow, he told me he has no time. He's a very busy fellow. He has a very busy practice. He's a very busy man. He has no time. So I said, why don't you tell me all the time in your life that you have dead time. There's no one that doesn't have dead time. And analyze your life, and this guy was mamish, very exact kind of guy. Very exact kind of guy. And then he found that he had 18 minutes. Sometimes he was waiting a minute for the next patient to walk in. Sometimes he was waiting by lights. He made how much time it takes him to go from his house to shul. And he figured out he has 18 minutes spread out in the day. And he began to learn a perek in Masechta Brachos. And he learned the perek 400 times. He learned line by line. He knew it Baal Peh, forwards, backwards, at the Siyum. I went for the Siyum. Actually, I didn't go to the Siyum I went for the Siyum, yeah. Is that Siyum? And at the Siyum, he gave out Gemaras to people, and he said, test me. And he said, start a Gemara, don't start from the beginning of a line, and don't start from the beginning of a sentence. Start from the middle. And I have to tell you what line it's on, what goes before that, and what goes after that. That was a number of times we asked him the question. I was sure he was gonna, but he always had the ability to close his eyes and read, get the Gemara. One time I thought it took about a minute. I think, oh boy, now we got it. And he came, starts the Gemara, starts like this. It's the middle of the sugya. This is what I'm talking about. This is what the middle. This is the shakavatay. It's holding by the teretz. This is what the teretz is. The kasher is this. All from moments of dead time. What the person had accomplished. Unbelievable. In Europe, there were yeshivas. They had sidorim for a minute. Minute sidorim. What was the purpose? Chaperayim. Person doesn't realize you chaperayim was so easy. But you just have to tell yourself, I'm doing mitzvahs. Here's a person going shopping. It's tremendous. If he thinks, I'm doing chesed with my wife. I'm doing chesed with my first child. I'm doing chesed with my next child. I'm doing chesed with somebody, my neighbor, I'm buying them also something. I'm being kind of things for Shabbos. I buy one thing, covered Shabbos. I just did a mitzvah of covered Shabbos. It's unbelievable. You think, how many mitzvahs could you get waiting in line? And here's a person trying to rush to this counter, register, and somebody goes in front. Yeah, you go first. HaKadosh Baruch, I just did that for your covet to show people that Yidden are not in a rush. And Yehudim lo doichim acherim. We don't push others. Not like I was in a store a couple years ago in New York, 2 years ago I was in New York in the store, Erev Pesach, I saw this people, mamish, pushing people out of the way. There was a family, and there was a lot of lines, it was very big lines. And when they came to my line, I saw them go right in front of me. They said, no, I just want to pass through. I want to cut through. And when I saw them doing to the other lines, they said they want to cut through, and then they stopped. People got angry, people screamed at them. They just ignored the matzah. And they came to me in front of my line. I said, you're in a rush? I said, if it means that much to you, you could stay here. But you know, not everybody said to me, I said, a lot of people are already ticked off. I saw your whole family do the shtick. I see, who's that, your sister? Who's that, your mother? Who's that? I couldn't figure out who's what. Or whatever. So not younger people, it was like many people in their 40s, maybe late 30s. It was like strange. The mother, they were like bitter. It was like, I said, you know how long the lines are? Well, why do you have to go first? The person tells me, you know, I came here, as soon as I came into the store, I put a wagon at the beginning of the line. And people keep pushing it back. That's a chutzpah from them. I said, what were you doing? She said, I was shopping with another cart. I said, what? It's like she does, you reserved her place. That's what people are basically. Rabbi say, you have to learn this parsha. Hisavu taiva. The Ramban said there's a machla called taiva. People desire things even when they're not hungry and they're not thirsty, they have no need for it. They create in their minds a need, it's like an obsession. I have to have it. You see it sometimes in Bachrim. Guy will decide 11:30 at night and needs a drink. So walk 45 minutes to buy a soda when there's a store that's open. I mean, it's the craziest thing. It's like looking for himself for a taiva. His avu taiva, that means they desired that a person should have himself a desire. People try to create, and they do create in themselves, desires for things that they have no interest in and no desire for. They'll walk across town, they'll buy a piece of pizza, they'll eat a piece and leave the rest of the box. So it's a palate. You ever go to a restaurant? I always go to a restaurant. When I go, I like to look around. How much food people leave over. And I think to myself, what'd you buy it for? What'd you buy it for? Well, the answer is, hisabu taiva. That's it. You taiva, you got to have that. I remember once in a restaurant, I was out of town. The guy said, I said, what do you suggest? He said, try the 32-ounce steak. I said, 32 ounces? How many pounds is that? I said, that's 2 pounds. I said, you want me to eat 2 pounds of meat? He said, it's like this. That's for a king. I said, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I wouldn't know what to do with it, I said. And they was trying hard to push it. Of course, it was a fortune of money. They weren't giving it away for free over there. And I said, I'm not buying into it. But I said, this is how anybody who comes here, the chashim people come here, buy that. That's that. Don't you want to be like with the chashim people? I said, I guess not. That's how people are. You have to understand this, and you have to think about this, and that's the contrast you find in this parsha. Kadosh Baruch Hu should help us become aware and make it. Don't feel bad. when somebody runs out and somebody stays and learns, then that person thinks, I'm missing out. The guy who runs out thinks he's gaining, and the person who stays behind and learns thinks, I'm missing out. You're not missing anything out. They're missing out. You're gaining everything, and they're gaining nothing. But if you don't make the cheshbon with yourself, and you don't tell this to yourself, so then you end up following the crowd right out the door.